And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here. No shoulders today, but what we're going to kind of do something a little different this week. We're going to kind of like a two-part show. Today I'm just going to do a couple topics, and then tomorrow me and Shoulders are going to get together and record the second part of our Stay Tuned Sports show. Plus, we will still have our MMA show tomorrow. We will record it so that way it's available for you guys Saturday morning. So a little bit of a different scheduling thing here, at least for this week. Hopefully, it's just that Shoulders had to work today, and I know we both, me and him, want to do the show together because it's fun and want to entertain you guys as best as we could. Because I know I'm not the easiest probably to listen to, when I'm by myself, but I try to do my best, and same thing with Shoulders. So enough of that, of the scheduling. A lot of sports talk this week. Before we get into what we're going to talk about, head over to Twitter, follow the show at ST Sports Podcast, follow my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports, as well as Shoulders, which is STS O'Brien. Head over to Facebook, like and share our page there. We, put our little clips on there as well, our little video clips to give you a little insight of what the past episodes, topics and stuff like that, as well as go over to YouTube. If you don't want to listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, or any of those other platforms, you can go over to YouTube and listen to us on there as well. So subscribe to us over there. So kind of kick off the show today. We're going to talk about Albert Pujols' 2000th RBI baseball. Where did it end up after a couple of months? He hit his 2000th RBI back in June, I believe it was, or something like that. May. It was May. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We're also going to talk about the Busch Light sign guy is back in the news. And once again, past tweets caught up to him. I'll get into that and my feelings about that as well. I'd be curious to see how you guys feel about it as well. And being that it's Thursday, tonight's Thursday night game, normally me and Shoulders don't preview it, but it is the Philadelphia Eagles against the Green Bay Packers. Is it a must-win for Philly? I don't know. So we'll touch on that as well. So getting into the show, like I said, Albert Pujols' 2000th RBI baseball has finally found a home. Back in, like I said, May, he hit his 2000th RBI. And I'm assuming it must have been a home run because Eli Hides, a Detroit Tiger fan, actually caught the ball. And wasn't sure if he was going to keep it, or was he going to donate to the Hall of Fame, or just flat out give it back to Albert Pujols. So after a long consideration of what to do with it, he decided to donate it to Cooperstown, to the Baseball Hall of Fame, which I think is probably the right thing to do. Albert Pujols, one of the bigger and bigger sluggers of our era, and probably honestly, I can't remember if he ever got suspended for steroids. So I mean, in a time in baseball where they're cracking down on PEDs, to be able to still put up 2,000 RBIs which is a significant number because he is only the third person to ever eclipse 2,000 RBIs in a career. And the two players that he's with, Hank Aaron and Alex Rodriguez. Say what you want to say about Alex Rodriguez with the steroids and the, that situation that he got himself into. Can't say anything about Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron's one of the greatest ball players ever to play. And to be associated with a player like that, you're definitely a Hall of Fame player. And it's kind of a cool story about Eli Hyde's about how he came about this decision. He actually went to Cooperstown and handed the ball in himself. Didn't give it to an Angels representative or Pujols himself. And he said, and I believe this, he said he had offers for the ball up to $50,000, even from the Los Angeles Angels. They were offering free gear, stuff like that. And kudos to him to say, no, I don't want any of that. I want to donate it. And he donated in the memory of his infant son that passed away. His son was a baby, basically. I think he was like 18 months old, I read. And son was actually named after Cy Young. So what Cooperstown kind of did was they put that in there that was donated by him as well as the people of Detroit. I don't know if anybody, I don't know how many of you people have been to Cooperstown, but it's been a very long time since I've been to Cooperstown. I think the last time I went was when I was about 12 or 13 years old, when I was still in Little League with my father. And, as a kid, it was still cool and interesting to read about all these old ball players. And now with all these newer ball players making it into the Hall of Fame with these records that probably would never be broken. And, like Albert Pujols, I definitely do want to get my boys up there. I think they will appreciate baseball a lot more, especially, the one wing of Cooperstown they have for the women's baseball. As well as, again, seeing an actual baseball that made history. But again, I if I was in that situation, what would I do if I got a historic ball like that? $50,000 is a lot of money. Could pay off student loans, could pay off a house, could buy a brand new car. And this gentleman said, no, I'm good. Here, this deserves to be in here. It's very, very few times you see stuff like this, and it's nice to see, So kudos to Eli Hyde. I hope this is not the last ball that will be in history for Albert Pujols. 'Cause, I've always kind of liked him. He always came at the game the right way. I've seen videos of him after a game walking over, taking his jersey off his back, signing it, giving it to fans. Nowadays when you got the Antonio Browns and players like that just are just douchebags. It's good to see some players are still out there that care about the fans and do stuff like this, or like that, I should say. But so again, kudos to them. Kudos to Cooperstown for making sure it's said on there, who donated it, and putting on there about the people of Detroit. Now, last week, me and Shoulders talked about a little bit about the Iowa State fan who on game day held up a sign that said, I'm running out of Busch Light, need to replenish, send me money, and put his Venmo account on there. Now, at the time of the recording, I thought I was under the assumption that it only made it up to $150,000 between him, Venmo, and Busch Light. Well, here it turns out that it got up to over $1 million that he was able to donate to the hospital that's right behind the Iowa Stadium. Well, unfortunately, obviously, when you do something nice, I guess, in this world, people want to look for dirt on you to bring you back down. And unfortunately, that's what happened here for Carson King. And the even sadder part about this is the writer that went on Twitter, found some old tweets that King did, Carson King, that turned out to be racist. He was 16 years old when he made these comments. And instead of praising Carson King for donating $1 million, here's Carson King now making a statement about, being young and naive. And actually, the statement he made was, I had no recollection of it. In rereading it today, 8 years later, I see it was an attempt at humor that was offensive and hurtful. I'm embarrassed and stunned to reflect on what I thought was funny when I was 16 years old. I want to sincerely apologize. I'm not saying he's wrong or he's right. Sorry about that. I'm not saying he's right for saying what he said when he was 16 years old. But the problem is he was 16 years old. He's unfortunately still immature, just like most 16-year-olds. And we see this throughout all of social media with athletes. Last year, I forget which baseball player it was, number 1 overall draft pick. Even Josh Allen from the Bills, when he got drafted, came out that he had racist tweets. That's why he fell. He had racist tweets when he was 16, 17 years old. It's pretty sad that we have to go all the way back to when they were kids to find something on them to make a name for themselves. And the funnier part about this writer that found these tweets is when it came out that he found these tweets about Carson King, people start digging into him, and he had racist tweets a couple years back that all of a sudden got deleted. So you're trying to make a name for yourself, but yet you did the exact same thing when you were mature enough and old enough. This is what's really wrong with the world today. For once, someone, and again, I'm not condoning him, Carson King, making these racist comments, but what if, let's take a second here and think about this. What if he's doing this, donating this money as a way to make up for what he did? Michael Vick with the dogs. How did he give back? He gave back to the community. Did seminars of how to not break the law. Obviously, not the dog fighting or anything like that. But we see this all the time, that when a athlete does something wrong, they come back in a way to teach the younger kids or younger people what not to do so they don't make the same mistakes these athletes do. And maybe this is what was on his Carson King's conscience, that why he wanted to donate it. And if it is, again, I'm not condoning it. It probably doesn't make up for what he did when he was 16 years old. And it turns out it was a joke that he was pulling from the TV show Tosh.0. And I'm not, it's a TV show. And if somehow a racist joke made it onto Tosh.0's show, I don't know how the show stayed on, because nowadays, if you make a racist comment, you get your show canceled, and then the rest of the actors on that show do a spin-off and kill you off, so you're not associated with that show. We need to stop digging for dirt when someone does something nice. For once, just think, hey, maybe he's legit. Maybe he actually does want to do this for the right reasons. Not to do it for the fame or the glory. Just to make himself feel better so he can make other people feel better. And again, why is it when we find, quote, dirt on people, if it comes up as kids, why do we go ballistic over it? They were kids who don't know completely the right and wrong. I mean, I'm sure there's 9 and 10-year-olds out there that have Facebooks, that have Twitter, that have Instagram, and I'm sure they're posting jokes on there that are offensive, that they really don't understand how hurtful those are, because they're not mature enough to understand it. So if one of those people become an athlete 15 years from now, we're going to throw stones at them and stone them to death because of what they said when they were 9, 10 years old. It is absolutely ridiculous that we hold what a 16-year-old says like they were 25, 30, 40 years old. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's my piece on there, and I'm curious to see how you guys feel about it. And obviously, whenever something like this comes out, in a situation like this where Busch Light said they're going to give the donation and Venmo said they're going to give the donation, a lot of times we see those guys pull out and say, nope, I don't want any part of this. We're not doing it. And Busch Light did say that they will still honor the donation, but they are cutting ties from Carson King. Turns out they were going to give him free beer for life. That went away now. I didn't see nothing about Venmo. I'm assuming again that they would still give the donation, but I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's going towards the hospital, so enough of that. I don't want to get too fired up. Maybe we'll see how Shoulders feels about that tomorrow. But before we go, like I said, it's Thursday night football tonight. Kind of recap a little bit of last week's game, preview tonight. Another week of basically no Jordan Howard. I don't understand what's going on with him on the team. Oh, don't worry, I'll get to the drop snaps or drop football. You got Miles Sanders in there, fumbles the ball, I believe, twice. I just think they're using Miles Sanders the wrong way. I said in the beginning, I know Shoulder said he was all for Miles Sanders come in and, be the starting running back to snap. I just don't think he's ready for the speed yet. I mean, if you watch him, he's dancing around. He's not hitting those holes. And even this past week, we had Spielman as the commentator said, sometimes you just got to earn those yards. Put your feet in that ground and push. And if you get 3-4 yards, that's what you got to do. Stop dancing. And that's what Jordan Howard is. Jordan Howard is a LeGarrette Blount, where he's a north-south runner. And when he did come in last week, he was giving you 4, 5, 6 yards of carry. I mean, Jesus, the one run he did, he ran over the defender, put his head down, you heard a smash, and he ran 2, 3 more yards. And then as far as the drop balls, listen, I understand Alshon Jeffrey was out, Deshaun Jackson was out, Dallas Goedert was limited. I think they said he only played 7 snaps. But you touch the ball, you got to catch the ball. You know, if you want to be in the NFL and you don't want to be in the XFL next year, you better catch the ball. Now, I will give kudos to Mac Hollins. He stepped up big time. He had some nice catches. Nelson Aguilar. It's like we're back to 3 years ago. And now, when he does catch it, he turns and just fumbles it away. That play that he fumbled the ball, I understand that the rule states that he made 2 steps by turning and then made a football move. I still don't think he had full possession as he's turning. It looked like that ball was coming out already. So I was surprised that Doug didn't challenge that one. And then the offensive pass interference, we got called 3 times on that. The one that I thought was real sketchy was the Darren Sproles. You got a guy that's 5'7", 5'8", going up against a 6-foot cornerback. He's short-armed. So how... Honestly, I think the corner kind of played it off a little bit. Yes, did he push a little bit? Probably, but I didn't think it was to the point that he extended his arm so that it was obvious. And that was big. And I was still waiting for the makeup call for the face mask that the refs missed on Miles Sanders. I mean, Jesus Christ, the kid is lucky that his neck didn't get snapped. And if there was players around when it happened, okay, maybe we could use the excuse that the refs couldn't see it because the players around. There was no one around him. On top of that, his helmet went flying 5 yards. How does not anyone say, how did his helmet come off? Not one ref. And the one picture I seen, the ref was looking right at the player, right at the play when it happened. Not a flag. I just wonder if there's so many rules and different situations to figure out, do we call it this or call it that? Is that why some of these calls are not being called? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming the refs for this game, for this loss. Goddard had a touchdown, or no, I'm sorry. JJ had a touchdown that he dropped at the very, very end there. Aguilar had a drop. And to put it in perspective, for all the Eagles fans that are bashing that Carson Wentz is shit and we lost this game because of him, those 7 drops count for 19% of Carson Wentz's passes. 19%. That's the most that has, as far as percentage, ever happened. As far as the drops, I believe I saw that's the most drops for wide receivers, Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers, since 2015. It's absolute insanity that these players were dropping balls, and easy balls too, not just a defender coming over the shoulder knocking away, hitting their hands. They got to make a better job of catching these balls. Carson, listen, I'm not defending him because I was in the beginning of the year saying, hey, I think Carson could pull off this year. We made the right call with Lance Foles go. and everybody's saying, oh, well, we should have kept Foles and let Carson go. Carson can't stay healthy. What happened to Foles? First game, broken collarbone. So if we would have let Wentz go and kept Foles, Foles would be out. We would have Nate Sudfeld, Josh McCown right now. Yeah, we would be doing really good now. But luckily, this week, we have Alshon Jeffrey back. Deshaun Jackson looks like he's still another week away from being back. He's officially ruled out tonight. I think the Jeffrey injury definitely did affect us last week. Hopefully, with him coming back, will help keep the defenses honest a little bit, as long as we have Jordan Howard from snap one starting. Mix in Miles Sanders. Bring him along slowly till, say, November. And then I think by that point, Miles Sanders, one, will be fresh because he's not used to playing 16 games. And he'll be seeing the holes better. I just think he'd be a lot better if we bring him along slowly. We brought Jordan Howard in here to get this running game going. Our running game is still the same as it was last year as far as rushing yards a game. We need to shake something up. You know, Deuce Staley, when we went for that Super Bowl, when we won the Super Bowl, Deuce Staley was doing an awesome job at rotating the players. Now, is Doug Peterson overriding him and saying, no, let's keep Sanders in there, let's keep Sproles in there, sprinkle in Howard here and there? They need to go back to the ground and pound running game that got us to the Super Bowl. And that right there is Jordan Howard. I even said on Twitter to a couple of the guys, even set up a Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard backfield. Let the defense wonder, who are you going to? And if they're really wondering who you're going to, that's going to open up the pass. It's going to open up so much more for this offense, I believe, if we put Jordan Howard in there at least 15 to 20 touches a game. Miles Sanders, he could get 5 to 10 touches a game, whether it's running or passing. So, as far as tonight, though, is it a must-win? I think it is. I kind of think it is a must-win, because if we get Jeffrey back, you know, we used the excuse last week that we didn't have Jeffrey or Deshaun Jackson. We got Jeffrey back this tonight. If we can't get a win, or at least, because past 2 games we were right there. If we can't get a win, I think it's time that Carson holds a team meeting and says, guys, what do I gotta do? I'm throwing you on my back. I mean, there was a play last week that the whole offensive line stopped blocking as Carson was still scrambling and then got sacked. That stuff cannot happen. That stuff does not happen on a Super Bowl contending team. It cannot happen. But I think we're going to pull it out. I think we're going to have a bounce back game. Should be a good game. It's going to be a tough game. Green Bay has a good defense. The offense is a little bit backed off, but it's Aaron Rodgers. Can never count against them. Be curious to see, does the drop stop? I mean, I did read earlier in the week that Carson did keep the receivers after a couple of the practices to keep throwing it to them to work on the drops. So we'll have to wait and see. They are at Lambeau Field. It's going to be loud, but hopefully Philadelphia will pull out the win. With that being said, that's going to be it for tonight. Like I said, tomorrow, me and Shoulders will get together and we'll record part 2 of this episode. And before I go, head over to Twitter. Follow the show at ST Sports Podcast. Follow myself at Jimbo ST Sports. Shoulders is STS O'Brien. Head over to Facebook and YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. If you go over to Twitter on our page there, we actually have our Teespring page if you want to buy shirt, hoodies, whichever. The link's right there. Click that. We would much appreciate that. Until tomorrow, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.